Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, we read every day, see every day, hear every day about people who have Alzheimer's. And yes, there are lots of places that people can go to rest comfortably. We have lots of new ideas on Alzheimer's. There are a lot of conferences. But my question is, are we going to find a cure for Alzheimer's within the next 10 years? I'm sure eventually we will, or maybe we haven't found a cure for cancer, so who knows? But I have an expert who has really been in the middle or the beginning of it. She's been actually a dynamo for the last 30 years here in South Florida, and you've heard her before. Her name is Mary BARNES. She's the CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care. Welcome to our show, Mary.
Hey, good. Hello, how are you today? Thank you.
I'm okay. You know, it's interesting. Every time I hear someone say, well, I have to go quit my job, my mother has Alzheimer's, I've got to go take care of her.
I know. It's very, very, I feel the numbers that they state, even in Florida, and especially down in South Florida, which I would say number probably between all, if you're looking at Miami-Dade, if you're looking at Broward County, if you're looking at Palm Beach County, would easily go up into 250,000. And I think those numbers are understated.
And that's just the person who is afflicted with this disease. If you multiply the people that are affected by this,
yes,
then you're really looking at huge numbers. And I was looking at the headline about the Zika virus has now reached Palm Beach County. There are 1 or 2 people. I really wonder if the candidates, and I haven't heard it from anybody, why don't they talk about Alzheimer's? I think if they had a platform of going 100% for Alzheimer's, that person would win.
Well, let me put it this way. I think it's more of our Florida people that should be talking about it. Yes, and they are in some circles. I think that we really need to get our leadership, though, from Tallahassee to come up with. You've got the health departments that have over the years their budgets have been cut. It's hard for them to deal with this kind of issue. The elderly in the state do not cost the state 1 penny. You get $3 billion coming into the state every month, and it's called the Social Security check. And even Jeb Bush, when he was governor, he would say that, on an annual basis, the elderly bring about $2.5 billion of a surplus to the state of Florida. So they're really, our people are an economic engine. But when you've got a Zika virus like this, who really our elderly are very fragile, and in many of them, and would not have the stamina of if there was a sting or something, and got them compromised by either going into pneumonia or something like that. I would think that would be a great, stimulation for our state to pay attention to this need.
But let's move. You're right. You are correct. It's just I see the whole situation with Alzheimer's as something that people only seem to pay attention to when it affects their own family or their own friends, because I don't hear Congress, I don't hear people making that the most important things. They talk about infrastructure. Yes, we need that. They talk about a lot of other obvious problems that the United States is having, but why can't we do what Joe Biden now? Hopefully, he's going to be the person that finds the cure for cancer, because not he himself, but because it's been made into such a major responsibility.
I think that you're right. Cancer, and especially melanoma, and you're talking about with the warming of our world. I mean, whether you want to, say it is or isn't, or is it a natural cycle? Most scientists say it is a true phenomenon that's happening with the warming. And I think that, yes, Alzheimer's is striking more and more younger people. because I think our medical community are understanding it better and looking for it more intensely and evaluating patients that show certain signs. I think that's why we're seeing more and more, younger people, but also you've got the baby boomers affected, which has always been a population within this our country has had a big impact on the era that they were in. I remember when the baby boomers were going through for the school system with children growing up in it. Well, a lot of attention was paid attention to education and what was going on in their family life. And there's other movements that they have generated. Now we're into the phase that they themselves are elderly, and they themselves are now going to be diagnosed with some form of a neurocognitive disorder. So, and I think that one of the things doing programs like this with you, Anita, is to make sure that they don't walk out of the doctor's office when somebody says, "Oh, you've only got dementia." Then they think, "Okay, that's not as bad as Alzheimer's." Well, it's worse because you don't know what's causing that medical condition. Because dementia only describes that by medically speaking, that you've got 2 or more adult daily living activities that you can no longer do. So that's when you hear that label, okay, you've got dementia, but what is causing it? And that is the necessary ingredient to know, or the necessary definition to know that you can't do a good care plan, or you can't plan if you don't know what kind of neurocognitive disorder you're suffering with.
Well, let me ask you then, because I do believe that you understand research. This has been your life. Is the whole field of stem cells going to be a cure in some way, or not a cure, but will it help people with Alzheimer's? Have you seen any of that research?
I've heard some good things that are hoping to come out of that research with stem cell researchers. I do think that it'll have some effect, like it's going to have with cancer, some effect on the body. They're coming up with new ways of looking at therapies for women as well as for men, that like you'll have hormone therapies and that. What kind of delaying triggers on what, starts the Alzheimer's process, and aging is one of them. So do we age better with other kinds of therapies? I think prevention and at least slowing it up is what scientists are looking for now. They're not hoping to find a cure very quickly, but they are trying to find a way is to either slow it, change people's lifestyles, and help with the aging process to be healthier in that. And that's why you're hearing about activities, eating the right kind of foods. Our Hispanic community, they have a high cholesterol, they have a hypertension, as well as our black community. And what causes that? Why is it so high in that population? And by the way, and our Latinos, we have an adult daycare and a lot of our other daycares really have the talent in there to speak the language, because they go. Even if you've learned English and you've been over in this country for a while, many times our patients revert back to their first language, and we have to accommodate that. But they can exhibit Alzheimer's tendencies 5 to 8 years sooner than Caucasian. So what's that all about? So this is where research is really going into heavily on the national level. This is what the NIH, and there is a lot of activity. We have an NIH grant right now that we're working under to deal with live-alones and also those with high-burden caregivers. So, yes, the government is doing it, but they're dealing with an issue that they really, really don't know much about. Believe it or not, after all these years, they really don't know how to, look at the care, what kind of expertise is needed for that care. Is there a kind of an entity called skilled care? The medical doctors don't have medical principles to follow when somebody comes in and the diagnosis is a neurocognitive disorder content. So there's a lot that needs to be done. And we've run into it when we went for accreditation with the Joint Commission and they really didn't know what to do with us. I mean, that's a accreditation body that is worldwide. And they put us under, when they gave us our accreditation, under behavioral health. We're not behavioral health. I mean, we're nowhere near being behavioral, but they didn't know how to, and they didn't know how to identify us on the work that we do. They don't know how to measure the success of the work that we do. We're having them come back in again because, you know, when you have that gold seal, it does mean something in the health industry. It means actually a lot. But we are trying very hard to get them to say, look at us, look at us, look at us. Look at what we're doing. Look at what comes out, how important certain aspects of the care is so desperately needed, and put it in a way to measure it. So more of this kind of care and more of this identity of quality of care and skilled care can be done nationwide. And those are the bodies that need to do it. CMS is another one, you know, for Medicare and Medicaid. And it doesn't have to be that you bankrupt the country with this. If everybody kind of like looks at this and uses common sense and identifies the kind of care, just like we did, a big step in that right direction was the Silver Alert program that we have so successfully in Florida. That didn't take a lot of money to implement that within law enforcement. They had the infrastructure. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's just that we got to change our ways and change our eyes and listen carefully, like with an Alzheimer's mind, and be able to really understand what the families need.
Well, I'm just
sorry.
I love this. No. That's why we asked you to don't ever apologize. You're like the trumpeter out there for Alzheimer's, and we love it. And let me just tell you a little bit about Mary Barnes. She is the CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care, and this was founded in 1996 by a group of local residents in Florida. She was really the founder, who were concerned about the growing number of people affected by Alzheimer's disease and related disorders. So if you want more information, or if you'd like to make a donation, which we would love for you to do, we want you to visit their website, which is ALZCare, ALZCARE.org. Or if you'd like to speak to someone there about being a volunteer, or if you yourself fear that you may have Alzheimer's, or you have a loved one who now is in that condition, you would call 561-683-2700. Again, that's 683-2700. And the reason this is a very important interview is because Mary Barnes not only worried about research or had other kinds of programs, but she put, as I say, the pencil to the paper, and she said, okay, we have to take care of these people. And she founded, and I don't know how many now, she has community daycare centers. Now, how many do you have here?
We have 11 right now. We're working 11. On our 12th one.
Can't believe it. And people, this is such a saving grace for people who need to work. They don't want to put their loved one into a nursing home or some sort of a facility. They want them to be there, but they need help. And this daycare, which is so perfect, and I have visited some of these, it's better than anybody could just get at home. So I take my hat off to you, Mary. I know it's been a hard road, but you're up to almost 12, and that is so great. Oh, that's quite a program. How many people would you say approximately come to these daycare centers?
Well, on a daily basis, we probably, we call it, going through our chart system, because, we have a combination of a medical and social model, because we have a nurse that works on the floor every day. And so we have about 300 charts that go through our organization every day. So, that's a big, big number of people that needing different kinds of care and, following their care plans and making sure that, and then that doesn't mean anything what the family nurse consultants do in the community. So we get about 2,000 calls on a monthly basis, but also you go to our website, and we have been having the average about between 10 and 12,000 unique visitors every month.
Really?
Yep. So
that's amazing.
Google has been a big help to us of giving resources so we can handle that kind of volume. But it's really, and you have to keep your website very informational, very dynamic, and we do have somebody that works for us that just pays attention to that, because that's the way people communicate these days.
Yes, that's true. And what we can do when we're finished with this interview, we will put this on YouTube so that Mary can then put that on the website. So all this good information won't be just put into some archives, that you'll be able to help. Well, let me ask you, if someone came along, and I know that you would know in a minute what this question is, and they said, okay, Mary, we will write you a check for whatever you want if we can make a difference in Alzheimer's. How much would it be, and what would it be? That's a good one, Mary.
Well, I have several different ways I would go there.
Okay.
We do need to establish other daycares, specialized Alzheimer's daycares within certain communities. And we've tried to identify, really, and we've started in the real critical areas like out in the Glades and out in the western communities, because we've got now one in Wellington, but we really need to do one in Royal Palm as well, because we're full and we have a waiting list out there. And we just opened up that daycare, I would say, this past year. So, and we've got another one that we're almost full, is up in the city of Port St. Lucie. Do we need another one in Stewart? Absolutely. We can do one in Hope Sound. We do one down in Tequesta, Jupiter. There are some real hot pockets, and we should be doing another one like out in West in Boynton Beach. I mean, and these are all legitimate. We don't do anything without really doing our homework, as you know, and we have found these to be critical areas.
You actually now, I would put it this way, that you have a template for what you do, that if you were given the money, you were given the land, or you were given the property, that probably within 60 days, maybe less, you could drop in what you've been so successful at. And my other question is there anything in Broward or Miami-Dade that looks like what you've done?
No.
Why do you think that's true?
They don't, huh?
They don't have you. That's why. They don't have the fireball.
The model that we have is a combination. Like if you were to look at we do 1 on 5. We don't do 1 on 6. And we only do 35 in our daycare a day. Reason being that you're dealing with a disease process and you're dealing with multi types of neurocognitive disorders, that our staff in that daycare needs to know exactly what's going on with that patient, to be able to tell the families. And it's a real partnership with the family. And by the way, the average age of our caregiver is 58 years old, so that's telling you a lot of children are taking care of mom and dad. And so we've got to watch that. We've also instituted some different models that we're, for instance, preventing falls. We have now, when we learn about the disease, it's like, say if they're dealing with Lewy body. Now, Lewy body is a crossover between Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, so you know the rigidness of Parkinson's. You know other types of characteristics of that disease. They're very prone to fall. So we put a little leaf. They have like a little their name tag on there. So we'll put a little leaf which would tell the staff person and the volunteers when they're in there in our daycares, and say, if we have senior companions too, and they'll say, person, and they're getting up right away, somebody's looking at that person, making sure they're right by their side, making sure that they're okay, that they're steady, and so we have decreased. We used to have the average in all our daycares, and you're talking 11, so you're talking, like I said, on the average of over 300 people a day. We've had maybe, on a monthly basis, maybe 4 or 5 falls. We've got that down to 1, and now we're even getting it down to 0. However, when we're talking to the caregiver, that's where we're seeing the falls in their homes. So now we're educating the caregivers on what to look for and how to manage those and make sure that they...
Now, do you have problems finding enough help at your center? So if you had the money and you could put 10 more centers in, are there people there really willing to work the way you need them?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And this is what we've done. We've got a wonderful VP of Education and Quality Assurance, and we've started a partnership with the university. And we're doing a nursing practicum program. And these nurse students that are getting their either bachelor's or they're getting their RN license or they're getting their master's in healthcare are going through, and they're coming to our daycares and spending time. It depends on the university. Is it 18 hours? Is it 10 hours on the floor of the daycare? And they're also getting classroom training from Karen. She goes in, works it out with the professor, the faculty, the nurse, because they're mainly nurses, and working out with the time that we would spend in the classroom with them. And that has made a big difference. We have seen wonderful evaluation forms. They're saying they didn't realize. They're far more receptive to staying involved with geriatric care, which in the past has not happened. There's been this aversion. I want to just take care of children, but having this opportunity, and they understand the disease because in daycare, because of the life, the interaction with our patients, this is not like a nursing home. There's a lot of life going on. There's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of genuine friendships going on. And it's a genuine lifestyle for our patients. And it's a robust type of environment. So they're getting to understand that Alzheimer's really is people like you and I, except for the fact that we get this disease. Now, when their behavior changes, to our staff, it's like that tumors come up. There's something going on, and how do we medicate? How do we treat that? How do we help when that change happens? One of the things that we got high marks for, there were other things we got high marks to as well from the Joint Commission, is that our staff knows our patient inside and out. That's why we're able to keep. We have a patient, ANITA, in our Pahokee daycare that has been with us 16 years.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Her cognition score is 2. Yet she gets up every day. She's with her family, and she has this routine that she can depend on. And she has been able to stay at home with her family all those years.
Now, I have to just say that is so remarkable that we ought to probably do a little article on that. That would... Now, you see, that's the kind of thing that I like to know about so that we can help people know that there are good areas out there, there are good people, there are good systems, and so 16 years, I'm blown away on that one. But that does say, now, so how old is she?
Well, she's now going up into her 90s.
And so that says a lot. That means that you've been doing this over 16 years, that you've had the centers.
Yeah, we're talking not a very easy community to age in, and yet she's there every day. She's there every day. We feel, and there's other stories like that too. And the other thing that we're hoping for with this new understanding and acceptance of the disease, because what's happening is the baby boomers, and I've said this right from the beginning, the baby boomers are not going to go quiet into the night. They want to know. They want to be involved. They want to, and with their changes, they understand Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's has been around since 1980. It's been in the community. So now this generation, meaning the baby boomers, they are much more aware and much more, when they're feeling that things are happening to them, they're more vocal. I mean, you had that special on, with Glenn Campbell. And now you had that movie that won an Academy Award.
Yes.
That I'm Still Alice. And so it's gotten more in the public domain. And what the big deal, it's like cancer. Remember, somebody got cancer? It was a stigma. It was a shame. I'd never understood that, but that's what it was in those days.
Yes.
And that's what's been going on with Alzheimer's. And those neurocognitive disorders, different diagnoses. And I think that's disappearing because you're hearing more and more. Something like what happened to Robin Williams is terrible. Robin Williams didn't realize that they were trying to say that he died because he found out he had Lewy bodies disease. He had not gone in for his examination yet. He thought he was going mad. A brilliant man like him, and of course he did have, he was sometimes depressed and that, but understanding that he did not know, and I feel that might have contributed to his being very frightened because, he was a man that was very, very, very talented and used his wit all the time, and which takes a lot out of, your person's mental state. So, yeah, but it's more and more talked about. It's not behind closed doors.
Well, of course, when it came out with President Reagan, that.
Yes,
that was the big one, I think, when people realized here he was trying to run a country, which he really probably wasn't running all by himself at that point.
I don't think he was.
No, but just think about that, and that certainly put a name to Alzheimer's, but it's going to have to take something much bigger, something more important. I don't know what that is, but you certainly are there championing this in South Florida where you are. And when you come on the radio this way, you really do. I know you educate me, and then I learn so much more. Well, I think the story of the lady who's been going to the daycare center so long and is still doing it is really what it's meant to do. It's meant to, you can't do anything about the disease at this point, but you can certainly make it livable, and you can make the family, can imagine how that family is surviving.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. I wanted to tell you something. Recently, I had someone on my radio show who had Alzheimer's, and he had a mild Alzheimer's, and he talked about it, and I think we've just run out of time. So I'll have to catch you back again. So
okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Mary.
Bye-bye. Take care.